Welcome back to the InboundREM YouTube channel. My name is Robert Newman. I am the founder of Inbound Real Estate Marketing. I've been in the real estate marketing industry for 14 years, and today I'm going to talk to you about why real estate branding is dying. Actually, it's changing so much that it might as well be a completely different thing than what it used to be. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why I am saying that, what the evidence is that I'm using for that, and how I believe strongly that real estate branding is shifting from visual, charismatic kind of things into informational, social proof kind of things. All right, so if that topic interests you, buckle up, Buttercup. We're going to be along for the ride for a little bit. I'm going to use some fun nerd props in order to do this conversation with all of you. All right, so first of all, the death of real estate branding. This is a lightsaber. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how branding used to work. It used to be that real estate agents in general thought that, and oftentimes have pursued branding that would be similar to a big corporation: newspapers, bus benches, radio, television at times. These were all the traditional types of real estate branding that you could pursue. Having somebody come out and do an article on you, which is still a viable way of doing branding, would be great. Very hard for most real estate agents to pursue. But one of the things I've noticed is that in the world of branding, in the world of creating a relationship between you and your customer, what is becoming far more relevant than saying that I saw that realtor in a newspaper article is actually, I looked you up on Google and discovered that you had 500 other people that said, this is an amazing real estate agent. This person went way out of their way to move me out of my house and moved me all the way across town. They gave me excellent recommendations to people that were, painted the home and tiled the home and so on and so forth. These days, social proof is more important than press. Now, I'm not saying either one is bad. If you get somebody coming out to you and doing an article or writing something about you, obviously that is still something that you can add to your branding arsenal. But if you were to say to a consumer, and all of you should do this test, like talk to your clients, what's more relevant to them? An article that said that this person sold $500 million worth of real estate, or is representing some super famous movie star in some place in Beverly Hills, or I did a search for a real estate agent in Beverly Hills and read for myself 300 people that said that this person has given them an incredibly good experience and that they would do business with them again if they could. My own business has consistently showed that social proof is one of the most powerful kinds of real estate marketing that exists right now. That it is a form of branding. It's reputation branding. It's branding based on your past results. It's branding based upon real world experience. It's branding based upon what happens when somebody calls me up to talk to me. What happens when somebody gets in their car and drives around with me? Is it a good experience? Because that experience that we're talking about is part of your brand. It's just branding is shifted from an idea of special service into the actual performance of special service, and then people being willing to talk about it. All right. It's so easy and so prevalent to get reviews these days that one of the number one factors that everybody lists when choosing a business to do business with, it's going to end up being social proof. Knowledge more important than looks. As long as I've been in this business, boy oh boy, this has been one that's been interesting to me. So one of my favorite analogies about knowledge more important than looks is the partnership between Jeffrey Hyland and Rick Hilton. Now, Rick Hilton is world famous, one of the heirs of the Hilton fortune. His daughter, everybody in the world knows, is Paris Hilton. What most people don't know is that Rick partnered with a guy by the name of Jeffrey Hyland, and they started a business called Hilton and Hyland, which is one of the top brokerages, if not the top independent brokerage here in Los Angeles that sells real estate. Well, Rick is a great looking guy. He's a beautiful wife, charismatic, amazing guy. Jeffrey wasn't as appearance friendly. Okay, he's recently passed, but those that may know him, those that are in the LA market, and even if you don't, he was a kind of a thin, but a little bit more studious, a little quieter guy. But here's the thing that a lot of people didn't know about Jeffrey is that he was a historian, an architect, and he carried around a lot of knowledge. Now, I personally never really spoke to him at that level, but I will say this: I have talked to plenty of people that have. And those people used to say that Jeffrey was one of the most knowledgeable architectural historians that existed inside the LA market. Okay. I wish I had had a chance to speak to him because I would love to have that conversation. But I'm going to say that his performance in terms of his numbers, I believe, were always on par with, if not greater than, Rick Hilton's. And it's a perfect analogy, a perfect Occam's razor over what people value in today's marketplace is like more than you driving a fancy car, more than the fact that your name might be Hilton, more than anything, it's going to end up being how much knowledge do you have about this particular transaction that we're trying to do? How much information, how many homes in this particular subdivision have you sold? Do you understand, like, are you able to talk to me in depth about the lifestyle that surrounds this area? Fishing, boating. Here in Van Nuys, it's very metro like how close is it to freeways? What's the public transportation like? Are there any good schools in Van Nuys? Essentially, when I do business with somebody, if I'm going to spend $800,000 with you or $100,000, like $1 million with you, listen, are you going to be able to answer all my questions with a great deal of expertise about this area that we're going into? Because believe it or not, that we have finally hit an age where this is more demonstratable than this, or at least as demonstratable. Most of the agents that I know that are doing YouTube channels and such that are like they're nothing special to look at. What they've got is this, and they get more leads than people traditionally speaking. Like, and still there are realtors that do big business who are just beautiful and always properly dressed and driving around the fancy cars. And there's still value in this. But if you're going to put me up against the wall, I'm going to tell you every single day that there's more business over here than there is over here. And that is definitely a difference. That is a difference over the way this has always worked. That this is a different type of real estate branding that is more impactful, more impressive based on results than this. Proof more important than buzz. There was a day and a time, and I remember this well, where in real estate, and actually there's a lot of buzz right now going around about ChatGPT. That would be what the buzz is in today's marketplace. But people are really drifting deeply in the direction that proof is more important than buzz. And I think that your average consumer, maybe first-time home buyers with a lack of experience, maybe they're still going to be operating in the buzz category. But you take anybody at all that's bought a home or two, done a transaction or two. And this is the vast majority of people. So last year, for the first time ever, new home buyers dropped down to 25% of the market. That means that 75% of the market are people moving around. Okay? That means that this proof, performance, has become actually more important than buzz. Like in terms of results, I'm not saying that is there no value in either one. I'm saying what's going to actually get you results in terms of your marketing. And marketing is prove to me. Don't tell me that you're the most exciting real estate agent that's ever hit the Charleston, South Carolina real estate market, or that you are, you look like Brad Pitt or you look like Angelina Jolie. It doesn't matter. Proof is going to be more important. Have you sold a lot of real estate? Have you done transactions? Can you explain this to me in a way that I understand? Proof is now more important than buzz. Personal brand is more important than corporate brand. Okay? This right here is why I decided to do this video, because everybody talks about branding all the time, ad nauseum, really. And I think that most people don't understand what's effective inside real estate. So I decided to talk about it. Why do I say that? Well, there's been a sea change inside the real estate industry over the last 5 to 10 years. It used to be that a big name such as Sotheby's, Coldwell Bankers, Hilton Highland, it used to carry some weight. You got with one of these brokerages and that name would mean something to you. It would mean that people were coming into your showroom and like arriving at your office in mass trying to set appointments with real estate agents because that brand meant something. That is really not the way it works today, at least not in general. Some small marketplaces, it still works like that. In most major marketplaces, people have drifted towards trying to set an appointment with an individual agent. They've looked at all these things, social proof and knowledge, and they can find it online. The digital revolution has provided us the ability with Instagram and with other tools to put our personal message out there. It's also Google My Business and other tools like that, Zillow, have all moved in the direction of providing all these reviews inside their platform so that you can basically get an eyeball view into performance on somebody. So saying that you have access to proof or social proof or does this realtor have knowledge, it's easily put on display for savvy agents who go out of their way to make sure that their clients communicate all of this online in digital format. And as consumers get used to having that information more readily available in front of them, that becomes part of their expectations of the buying process. They absolutely positively are going to say, I want to know who this agent is before I call them. I want to know what you can do for me before I ever give you a ring. Now imagine for a second the old relationship is Coldwell Banker. I need to buy a house. I'm going to call my local Coldwell Banker office and they will assign me an agent. That was the power of corporate branding. Okay? And then occasionally certain mega agents like Jade Mills and Joyce Ray, they would work their personal sphere of influence to the point that you felt adopted by that agent through a large amalgamation of branding efforts, such as card sending and refrigerator magnets and phone calls and handshakes and boxes of chocolate and birthday cards on your birthday. That was all things that agents used to do to create brand, to create a personal connection between them and their clients. Well, guess what? That has also changed. This is why personal branding has become so important, is because personal brand is I can find out information about you, including what you're doing on your career, and I can do it just by picking up my phone and clicking a button. I don't need to look at my mail. I don't need to look at a card or on the refrigerator or anywhere else. You either made an impression with me the first time you did a business with me or you didn't. And if you did, perhaps I follow you on your socials. And guess what? That is the same thing as a client saying you can send me a piece of mail. It's the same thing. It's just we are not as certain of it because we're not sure that people are tuning in. But if we have a personal brand such as I'm going to give you a market update every month, I'm going to talk about my market, I'm going to show you that I am boots on the ground after 20 years walking out in the market, that I personally haven't changed, which is something like people like Jade Mills are really good at doing. They're really good at demonstrating on social media that they're still out doing the thing. That is a personal brand. So when people are starting to equate, I don't even know what brokerage Jade Mills works with, hand to God. I doubt other people do either. Maybe she's her own broker at this point. She should be. I know that Joyce Ray works with Coldwell Banker, which is more along the lines of she's been there for 30 years. So she's just not going to change at this late stage in her career. But she's a personal brand. She could just drop that Coldwell Banker and I don't think anybody would notice. I don't think her clients, I don't think anybody would notice except for Coldwell Banker. Personal brand is the reason that companies like EXP are excelling, is because corporate branding doesn't bring nearly as much to most real estate relationships between the broker and the agent. And even on the corporate side, these brokers are going to have to get a lot better about building and providing digital tools and providing something of value other than their name, because that's not enough anymore. And they're not providing a lot of value to their agents. EXP is providing more value to agents than almost anybody else, not because they've done a better job. They've done a better job at translating everything into digital, which is how people find this, how you build personal brand, how people access your information. It is what everybody has been expecting out of the internet and digital for a long time, and it's just catching up into real estate. So your real estate branding comes down to how informative are you being online, and how many ways can somebody research you, and how much can you demonstrate your performance. Because if you do all of those things, that becomes an incredibly potent part of your personal brand. Now, if on top of that you want to add charisma or style, or that fact that you buy or sell a particular type of home or represent them, that's going to be one thing you do. But here's the last thing. Here's the last thing to add on to personal brand that changes this whole equation. Mission is more important than mandate. Your personal mission is always going to be more important than whatever your corporate mandate is. And what do I mean by that? So Douglas Elliman and other people, they have their tagline that goes into the brokerage. Okay, whatever that may be. Okay, that tagline, many agents take as their personal tagline. And I can't tell you what a big mistake that is. You need to have your own mission that connects into your own personal brand. It can be, I want to do business with other sober people, other people that are in recovery, other people that live alternative lifestyles. Like there's plenty of different types of missions out there. Other people like me that are socially focused. My mission can be to sell real estate like completely ethically. And what you would do is you would create what ethical looks like to you. Okay, ethical can be, I'm going to put all of my fees and writing and like right up front on digital, and I'm going to give you the last 10 like written out examples of my transactions so you know exactly how much this costs. Could be, that's my mission. I'm going to add a layer of transparency to real estate that nobody's ever seen on the consumer side. And that's a mission. That could be a mission that connects into something that's very important to you, some kind of ethical treatment of your customers. My mission, if anybody wants an example of mission as I relate to it, just watch my establishment video that I did in 2017, a year after I started this business. I shot it in my garage, and that was my mission. Okay, it's still my mission. The reason that mission is important to customers, the reason it is important to marketing, the reason it's important to get people off the fence is because it is usually, you take all these things. Okay, this is a reasonable professional doing a thing that I need. All right, and they obviously have a good track record at it. Well, you want to add a little bit of extra sizzle into the connection between you and that person, getting them really off the fence and maybe want to do business with you. The last and final layer to that onion is, what is your mission? All right, what is it that you really want to accomplish with your career? Because it's not enough to say you want to sell $1 million in real estate anymore. It's not enough to say that you want $1 million. Today's audience is far more sophisticated. Today's younger generation cares a lot about mission, and that's bleeding upwards into the older generations as well. What is it that you want to do once you've made your $1 million? Do you want to help anybody besides yourself? Do you want to do you not like people but love dogs? It sounds weird for me to say that because all of us collectively are in the people business. But I'm somewhat of an introvert. I talk to people all day long, 8 hours a day. It's just tiring. But does that mean necessarily that I don't like people? No, I like people. They're fine. I just prefer to have quiet time. Mission is more important than mandate. Who you are as a person, because despite everything I just said to you, my business is built around all the mistakes I've watched other real estate marketing companies make for 14 years, things that they do that drive me crazy. So I made twice as less and worked twice as hard so that I could start my own thing. But that's how important the mission is to me. I sacrificed a lot of my time and a lot of my life into the mission of doing this business the way that I thought it should be done, and fixing problems, owning clients, owning websites, like being transparent about the way you deliver services, making sure that everything is written, that clients have reports that they can look at should they choose to. Real estate agents never choose to, yet I always felt that they should have that available. These are all examples of mission. What is your mission? Because some people are going to hear you, are going to tune into the strength of your personal mission as it relates to real estate, and that is going to get you more business. As long as you have all these other building blocks in place, this down here is really going to move the needle for you. Because most real estate agents don't have a mission that they can point to. So this is a wide open thing, and you can really see movement here. Now, mission is talked about in the luxury space a little bit more than it is in other types of real estate. So if you want to understand what a mission might be, like you can look at some personal accolades that, like Joyce Ray, mission becomes important at the super luxury, and I mean super luxury level. Joyce Ray and Jade Mills. I'll give you an example. Jade Mills is a fan of opera, okay, and she contributes heavily to the arts here in Los Angeles. So if you were a big enough client with tens of millions of dollars to spend, you might end up looking at Jade's mission as a major decision-making factor inside your real estate decision. Now, that rarely has bled down to your average middle America like real estate salesperson. It is bleeding down now, except that your mission might be taking care of animals, rehoming cats, adopting kids. There's lots of things that you do with your personal time that connect into your mission. It doesn't have to be about your business. I happen to have some mission-based stuff that connects to the business, but you can have plenty of mission-based things that connect to your personal life. I have a personal mission, which is to create a lot of revenue using InboundREM, and then I'm going to use the same tools, and I'm going to talk about I'm going to make the idea of climate change more conversational, give us more hope. So I'm going to do another big blog, another informational thing. And that is connecting deeply into my mission. Okay, it makes relevance for me for all of this. Now, if everybody knew that was what my mission is, they get to decide whether or not they want to attach to my brand, my current brand, which is mission-based, personal branding, social proof, all those things, huge track record of success, good at what he does, very knowledgeable, and I really appreciate who he is as a person. So if I give this person money, I understand what the mission is, and I believe that they're going to pursue it, and I feel really great about the way I've spent my money. I hope everybody understands the way that I'm outlining this. If anybody doesn't, please leave me some comments, because I understand that I'm coming at this from a different direction than anybody else has. So I appreciate it if you will let me know what you thought of this particular post. I'll catch you the next time. Give me a thumbs up if you think I did a good job.